today we're going to work on a coloring and shading practice page to really improve some of our coloring skills. Now this isn't just any color sheet. We're going to be working specifically on neatness, blending, and value. And if you follow along with me, we're going to talk about all those things together. Now, the first thing that we're going to do is we're going to color in a value scale. So that's where we're working on coloring dark on one side and then gradually making our coloring lighter on the other side. You can use colored pencils or you can use crayons. I actually might use a little bit of both. So for this first one, I'm going to use colored pencil. And on the first section of the value scale, I'm going to press as hard as I can. Without breaking my pencil, I'm just really pushing hard to make my colored pencil color really, really dark. Now I'm also trying really hard to stay inside the lines, and I'm coloring mostly all the same direction so that my coloring doesn't look scribbly. And I don't have any white spaces left over. Just like that. Now on the next section, I'm going to still be pushing pretty hard, but I want this area to be just a little bit lighter in value than the one I just did. So I just want there to be a barely noticeable difference. And I'm still focusing on neatness, where I'm staying in the lines and not having my coloring look scribbly. And if at any time during this lesson you need to pause the video, of course you can do that. All right, so this one is a little bit lighter. Now I'm going to go a little bit lighter still. And I'm just going to keep on going until the very last box is almost completely white. There's barely any color in it at all. All right, on my very last box, I'm holding my colored pencil way over at the end so that I don't put too much pressure on it. If you hold it way up here, it's really hard to color lightly. So I like to hold it way back here, just barely putting on some green. There, and then we should have different values in every single box. So just using one colored pencil, I got a whole lot of different colors. This is really helpful whenever you're trying to color something that has a shadow on it or something like that. Now on the next one, we're going to also do a value scale, but we're going to make this one a gradual change, so, sort of like a gradation effect. So you can use the same color. I think I'm going to pick a different one just for fun. Here we go. And I'm going to start dark on one side, and then as I start coming over to the right side, I'm going to very, very gradually start lightening the pressure of my coloring so that it's getting lighter and lighter. And I might have to go back and adjust it as I color and fill in all the white areas. But basically, we're trying to make this value scale sort of match the one up at the top, but this one isn't divided into sections. It's just kind of all one piece. So this is going to take you a little while to get it all filled in and get your values all in the right places. All right, my value scales are looking pretty cool. Now, number 3 says blend two colors together. Hint, pick color wheel neighbors. So I am going to use crayons this time, and I've picked a blue and a purple. These are neighbors on the color wheel because I know when I blend them together, I'm going to get a pretty color. If I chose blue and orange to blend together, those are opposite on the color wheel. So I know that when they mix, it's going to make kind of a brownish color, and you might not want that. So the way you start blending is actually a little bit like we did our value scale. I'm going to start out kind of dark over here. So I'm just using one color on one side, and then as I get towards the middle, I'm getting lighter. And then I'm going to bring in my second color from the other side. Some students, when they do this one, they just blend the colors all throughout the whole section into just one color that's mixed together. But I like to kind of do it this way just because I think it looks really cool. I like doing this coloring technique sometimes on different art projects, so you might want to try it too. Where it starts out one color and then different color on the other side, and then they're mixing in the middle here. Purple's kind of mixing with my blue. Like this. All right, now I'm going to go back and take my time to really make sure that my two colors are gradually blending together so that both sides are kind of nicely balanced. Okay, now moving on to number 4, we're going to color the circle to give it form. Now basically what that means is we want the circle to look three-dimensional instead of flat. So instead of a circle, it's going to look more like a sphere. And I really love doing the coloring and shading on spheres, and once you guys learn how to do this, I think you're really going to like it too. So I'm going to start off on one side coloring dark. So we're kind of using this value trick again, where we're coloring really hard on one side. And I'm sort of creating a crescent-shaped area of dark value, like a crescent moon. Okay, kind of like this. Now, as my crescent starts to get a little bit thicker, I'm gradually getting lighter with my value. So I'm not pushing quite as hard. And I'm really trying to kind of work to keep this a round shape as I'm coloring here. My little area of white circle is getting smaller and smaller. And I'm going to keep on coloring, making my values get lighter and lighter until I'm just left with a little tiny area of white right about there. And I don't want to press too hard when I draw that circle because I don't want that to show up. It should just kind of fade away. And on number 4, it gives you 2 chances to practice this because it's a little tricky if you haven't done it before. So if your first one turns out a little wonky, you can try again on this one for extra practice. There we go. Sometimes I even like to add a little shadow on the ground, just a little kind of a line of coloring, and that really makes it look like it's a ball sitting on the ground. It really looks three-dimensional. Now, once you have completed all of these coloring practice areas, on the right-hand side, there's a color sheet for you to practice all of these tricks. On every single shape, I want you to either use blending or value to practice these skills even more and make this picture look really awesome. You'll be amazed the difference that these tricks will make on your coloring. So here's an example of mine that I finished coloring. Now, I maybe got a little carried away, which happens when you give an art teacher colored pencils, but you can see that I have done either value shading or blending on almost all of my pieces. And that's what gives it kind of this really cool three-dimensional look. So I hope that you guys have some fun coloring this today and practicing your new coloring skills.